with me for a minute. Okay, it says we're live. What's up, everybody? If you are tuning in live with us, hello. If you're watching the replay, you can go ahead and probably fast forward about 30 seconds. I am going to, and Angelena, my very special guest today, are going to share this onto our pages. So here we go. I am live with Angelena Harris. Share. So Angelena, it is sharing onto my page right now. If you want to grab that and share it onto yours, feel free. I'll give you a quick second to do that. While she's doing that, for those of you maybe first timers out there or repeat viewers, hello. Thank you for giving us your time. This is the Broker Showdown. I believe this is round 13, if I'm not mistaken, here of the Showdown, which is where I bring on amazing leaders like our special guest today, Angelena Harris, broker owner of Spearhead Realty. I'll let her give herself a proper introduction. But really the premise is we go round for round, toe to toe with each other. It's not to stump the other person, but it's definitely to make them think quick on their feet and just get the real raw answers. So the rules of the game are, after we do the intros, I get to ask her 3 questions. She has no idea what I'm going to ask. She gets to ask me 3 questions. I have no idea what she's going to ask. And we just have a fun time going back and forth like that. So without further ado, please drop in the comments, give some love to my guest today, Angelena Harris. And off script, I can tell you, we've been running together, my goodness, for 5-6 years now. It's crazy, whatever it has been. And you guys, Angelena is wicked smart. I mean, you're going to learn some stuff today, I have no doubt, because of her wisdom, her perspective. She just has a way of speaking, and when she speaks, you listen. She cuts through the noise and just says the thing that needs to be said. Incredible servant-driven leader, which is why her brokerage and the agents are thriving, even in sometimes otherwise adverse markets. And I have so much admiration and respect for you, Angelena. Thank you for being here with us today. And I'm going to let you kind of give a proper intro. Who are you? Where are you from? All the good things.
Okay, thank you. My name is Angelena Harris. I am the broker owner for Spearhead Realty. I've been in real estate investing since 2007. I manage our rental portfolio, and we've done flips and all the fun stuff in real estate investing. And if there's a type of deal, we've probably done it in the past, and we may not do it now, but we have done it. I became a broker in 2014. I opened Spearhead Realty, so it's been about 11 years. And I do have a strong background in human resource management as well in my previous career. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And I'll give it back to you, Jake.
Love it. And by the way, what is this? Who's ganging up on me? Brighton Godwin says Angelena roast him. Like, why am I getting it?
Yes, Brighton is a lender in Oklahoma City. He does investment loans for commercial people and investors.
Well, there you go, Brighton. You got some free PR from promo right there, buddy.
Mm-hmm. That was probably his goal, actually, knowing Brighton. So
that's okay. I appreciate the hustle. I love it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And yeah, if this is our first time hanging out, and maybe you don't know who I am, that's okay. My name is Jake, as you can see. Founder, CEO of the Locker Room Real Estate Coaching and Training Company, where we specialize in working with broker owners, much like Angelena. And we partner with them and their agents to improve all things related to growth, retention, productivity, and profitability. And we do so through content creation, trainings, group coaching, and one-on-one coaching, all the above. It's kind of like this all-inclusive package without nickel and diamond people. So we're proud to be exclusive partners with Spearhead Realty there, and Angelena at the helm. And I'm also co-founder in the Locker Room Leadership and Coaching Academy with my partner, Kit Fusil, which is an ICF, which stands for the International Coaching Federation, ICF accredited institution, which is really the worldwide gold standard for those who want to get certified in the coaching industry. So anyways, enough about me. We are here to feature Angelena and go back and forth, like I said. So I'm ready for question number 1. Are you ready, Angelena?
Yes.
Okay. So let me pull up my questions here. Where'd they go? All right. My first question is, and I don't know if you've ever watched prior episodes, but people will eventually catch on, I'm sure. But here's my first question I ask like every guest I have on. If I was an agent in your marketplace right now, and maybe I'm watching this very thing right now, considering a change in brokerages, you tell me what is your unique value proposition and why should I consider joining you? What would be compelling enough for somebody like me to want to join? Go ahead.
Right. So this one's always been hard for me to do this. And when we were at broker camp um, back in, I think it was in May, we went through a whole process to do this. And it was, to show what problem you're solving for your agents and everything like that. So I put in everything that I do, and I had Chat GTP help me because I'm very technical. I like to utilize technology, and what it told me, and then I'm going to elaborate afterwards about me and my company based on what I put in, is that I don't just manage agents. I build successful wealth generating businesses with them. At Spearhead Realty, I combine coaching, accountability, investing experience, and systems to help agents go from reactive to strategic. I guide them not to close deals, but to create freedom, structure, and long-term success through real estate. So at Spearhead Realty, we have a lot of investor agents. Everyone is very attracted to my firm. I understand very complex transaction types, creative deals, and those kinds of things. And that is why a lot of, especially experienced investors, like to work with me. But we also do retail, we do new builds, we do all kinds of stuff. And so I think that's a misconception about our company, is that we only do investment. We actually have agents that specialize in luxury and new builds and retail type of transactions as well. And a lot of our agents actually flip homes and that kind of stuff. And so we take a very strong position, though, to let people know that, yeah, you can make a lot of money selling, but you need to be able to keep it long term, because 20 years is coming and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And so really building wealth through owning property, building wealth through different investment strategies is very important. And so we want to make sure that our agents understand that in the future. And so our culture and our company is very much a wealth building investment culture. Everyone serves each other. We don't compete within our brokerage. And so it's very important that we do that. But also I serve at a high level in all of the different boards, state, local, and national boards. And I have a strong compliance side of me, where I understand all of the rules and regulations for MLS, for NAR, for the state and everything. And so because of that, like, I have that strong background. So whenever there's a problem, I am a fixer. That is what I'm really great at. And so whenever my agents have an issue, I am there with them. I'm in the trenches. I'm helping them. And I think that is a lot of the reasons why people are attracted to our firm, because they know that at the end of the day, they can trust that I'm going to handle the issues whenever they come up. I'm going to pass that back to you, Jake.
I'm writing some notes down here. I am in love with that answer. I've actually never heard you and we've known each other for a while. I've never heard you articulate it quite like that. And it was just beautiful. I've written down so many things, one of which is an advocate. You're an advocate in the trenches with them. You've got these critical thinking, problem solve. It's one of your superpowers. And I know that to be true for sure. But unquestionably, because of your passion for our industry and being out there serving as president and of the MLS and other things, your agents also know that you've got their back. Like, you're in it with them. And that's not something, as great as tech and Chat GPT and stuff is, that's artificial. Like, you can't replicate that per se. And so I think that was beautifully stated, in addition to some of where you felt maybe underestimated, or not just a place where investors come to do business. You have other scopes and do that quite well in addition to the investing side of things, but it's your creativity. And above all else, finally, I'm just cliff noting this, your perspective as the leader where you don't just help agents buy and sell, sling some homes, whatever. You demand excellence of how they go about it from a professionalism standpoint, but the mindset of a CEO. We're running a business here, right? And the purpose of the business is to be profitable. But what is your exit plan? What is this all about? And you're helping them learn the game of investment along the way. So they have something to show for it at the end of their career with hard, tangible assets that they can go touch and look back and be proud of. So sorry to kind of like
Yeah.
totally take what you said and put it in my own words, but anything else to add to that?
No, I think that's good. But I had trouble with that. And when we were at broker camp, whenever you guys asked what problem we're solving for the agents, that was really helpful to kind of decide, like, what do we do differently? Because we all, have the same rules, regulations, and things like that we have to follow. But how do we approach those things differently as brokers?
May I ask a follow-up? Totally cheating, but
Sure.
who cares? This is my TV show. So, based on the response you just gave and the clarity you have, how during the interview, the discovery process with a potential agent that might want to lock arms with you, what is it that you're asking? What is it you're looking for from them to say, hey, we are a fit, I think we align, or maybe we're not a fit? Anything you can fill in there?
Yeah. So as you know, I'm because of my human resource background, I am a trained interviewer, and so I'm looking for, like, nonverbal communication a lot of times, some cues that they give me whenever I'm talking to them. But the biggest things for us is making sure that they're a good human being at the end of the day. I feel like I can teach them how to do real estate. I've taught lots of people how to do different things in real estate, and some people that people would underestimate that have become extremely wealthy in real estate. And so I'm not afraid to have to teach somebody how to do something. I take on a ton of new agents. It is, are they an amazing human? At the end of the day, Spearhead only hires amazing humans. And so we answer 3 questions in the interview. It's, can they do the job? So do they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities? And with that, when it's a new agent, they have just completed school. And so I kind of consider that like their knowledge, skill, and ability. They had to complete school in order to get a license. And so that's kind of, our starting point. And I'm aware of that going in. With an existing agent, I want to know more about them, like how many deals they've done. Do they actually understand how to do a file and not just utilizing a transaction coordinator, and just really digging down into how they treat their sellers and their buyers, and what their mentality is during the transactions. I'm not a big ego person. I don't like a lot of ego, and I can typically notice that inside a interview. But the second question I always ask is, will they do the job? Do they have the right attitude? And so I can work with somebody with a good attitude. I can't work with a bad attitude. And so I can kind of tell that as I'm asking them questions and kind of giving them follow-up questions. And then, do they fit into the organization? At Spearhead Realty, we have 3 core values. And then also, when we went to the lake back in 2016 or 20, yeah, I think it was 2016 in the fall. And we made a decision as a company of who we were and how we behaved out in the marketplace. And so a lot of those, the 99% of those agents are still with me to this day. And so what they decided at that time was my agents wanted a broker that was basically we're an agent-centered company, and that's what we are. So the broker's job is to take care of the agent. The broker's job is to provide the tools and training that agent needs to go out into the marketplace and do their jobs. And they also didn't want a broker that was producing against them. And I am a non-producing broker. I do deals, but typically they're my own, or I'm helping a friend out or something like that. But I don't actively go out and recruit for deals. I don't actively go out and try to get deals against my agents, because that's important to my agents that I don't do that. And so my job at the end of the day is I'm managing close to 60 agents at any given time, and I need to be in the office making sure that everything is running smoothly. That is my job. as the broker, I need to be recruiting and out there and showing the world that Spearhead Realty is a great company. But as a broker, I also need to show the knowledge out there in the marketplace that people understand that they have a great broker that is managing that company. And then our core values are a commitment to serving others. We serve each other daily. We serve, I have agents that, they feed the homeless. And I've also mentored at the homeless kids school personally. I volunteer on all of, 3, 4 boards at a time right now in our industry. We do a lot of great things like that. And so we don't talk about it a lot because, whenever you're a Christ-served leader, you don't talk about certain things that you do, you just do them. And so commitment to serving others is super important to us. Our second one is a commitment to building long-term relationships. My husband and I have a strong relationships with almost 500 clients that we've served as real estate investment coaches over the years. We've gotten to see them grow from nothing to being multimillionaires, and it's a beautiful thing to watch that. And so we like to have agents that do the same, that have the same idea of building those long-term relationships, because in this business, that is exactly what we are. I do not actively market or recruit for people. A lot of people come to me because they know that I've gotten a referral from another agent in the office, or somebody referred me to them, or they've seen me, through some of my volunteering or something like that. They've seen me on the stage at the investment, in the investment community. So that's typically where I find people. But those long-term relationships are super important. And the third one is a commitment to executing our fundamentals well. I'm super anal retentive. My agents know that. I like for all the paperwork to be just so. I like for the details to be in there because that's the only way that we can prevent issues later on, is to make sure that all of our files are clean and that we are showing that we know what we're doing out in the marketplace, that we are not the brokerage out there that is, doesn't know how to fill out a contract or understand what the contract actually states. So those are all things that are super important to us in our firm. And so that's the kind of the main thing for us, is just making sure that, we are following our core values. And I always tell people at a recruiting appointment, I can teach you how to do real estate. I cannot teach you how to be an amazing human, and I cannot teach you how to have these core values. So, and I can typically tell within that time frame in that interview if somebody has those core values. If they don't have those core values, I will normally tell them that I don't think that they're a good fit right then and there. I do not waste time. I do not let them think that they're going to come work with me. I let them know right away that, hey, I don't think that this is a good fit. I also will look at their social medias a lot of times just to make sure that they're not trolling people, that they're not hurting people, that they're not taking advantage of people through even social media channels and that kind of stuff. So I think hopefully that answered your question, Jake. But yeah, so.
It for sure did. I wrote down the three P's: purpose, professionalism, and productivity. If I'm an agent and I value being a part of something greater than myself, that's the purpose. Check out Spearhead for sure. Somebody also, though, that values professionalism, doing this the absolute best, no mistakes, and being held to that standard, Spearhead. And also somebody that wants to treat this like a business and be in productivity. So those are the three P's that I just wrote down based on what I heard you say, and then we'll move on. But the checkpoints on, can they do the job? I think you said knowledge, skills, and ability. Great. Will they do the job? That's attitude. And do they fit? That's culture. So spoken like a true HR professional. I love it. All right, I'll let you fire away your first question at me. What a great start, though. I love all that. Lots of good.
So I'm not as good at writing, these questions for Jake. He's a trained Mr. Question guy. But a lot of us that have been around the locker room for a very long time know that you love to go arrowhead hunting. Like that is your thing. I think it's just kind of an outlet for you. So inquiring minds want to know, how can you apply the process of arrowhead hunting in business?
I am in love with this question.
And you can thank Kevin for helping me formulate that question. I will give him some kudos. So
I would have never in a million years thought I'd be asked a question like this. Kevin, good one there, buddy. And thank you for it. Okay. And those of you, just let me give some context really quickly. So yes, Angelena is correct. If I didn't have to work another day in my life, I am a total nerd when it comes to Native American Indian or indigenous people's history. Okay. I don't know why. I don't have that in my DNA. Not that I know of, but it's the historical interest. And so I do ask permission, very important, for landowners, farmers, people like that, if I can walk their fields or their creeks looking for artifacts like arrowheads and tools from long ago. So, what can I learn from that process and apply to business? I think was the question, right?
yes.
Here's, I think, my on the fly answer. A lot of people ask me, well, how do you find them? How do you even know where to go? Well, just like anything, it's doing the work that nobody sees. You just see what I found because I'm so proud and I post about it on social media or something and add it to my collection. What you don't see me doing is the work behind the scenes. I have spent an embarrassing amount of time looking through and reading old Wisconsin State Historical Society articles and things from 1907 and all the way up to current. Because in there is the breadcrumbs. They'll tell you, oh, the southwest corner of section 16 of whatever county used to be a village. And so literally, I will take old plat maps, identify with LiDAR and other GIS imaging kind of things from the county, and I'll overlay that with Google Earth. So I put a pin on Google Earth exactly where it was known to be a campsite or something, and then I document all of that in a spreadsheet. I look up in the records who the current landowner is, and then I reach out asking for permission to search. Why am I over explaining this? Because that absolutely relates to business, right? Somebody right now with that idea, you're resisting the research phase. You're resisting identifying where the gold lies, where that arrowhead and the percentage of probability lies if you would just be willing to slow down on the front end so you can speed up and position yourself for greater chances of success on the back end. Making sense? I'm trying to tie it together, see? So I find in coaching and in business, a lot of people go from idea and execute. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm a fan of speed of implementation, but I think it's skipping over a very important step. It's kind of like ready, fire, aim, right? I think there's a value in saying, okay, here's my idea. I'm in an idea phase. Now I need to shift into decision phase, rooted in data, rooted in logic, not emotion. Then I get into execution phase and so forth. And so I think that's a great lesson that I've learned, I guess, through this. It doesn't make me right and somebody else wrong, but how I approach building businesses, coaching people, and serving others is very systematic, very process oriented because it's duplicatable. And I think the front end of the work best positions for results on the back end. How'd I do?
Good. Yeah. I knew that you did that. I just wasn't, I didn't realize that you were that much of a nerd about the history side of that. So
the nerd is strong in this one, but
yeah,
boy, I really had to stretch it there. But it actually, as I'm hearing myself, I'm like, yeah, actually that makes sense. It really does. I've just never thought of it that way. Thanks to a great question like that. So
yeah. Again, you can thank Kevin for that. So
I'll either thank him or I'll strangle him or something. I don't know. That was a good one. Kevin, if you're watching, well done, sir. All right. Hopefully I passed that one. Angelena, are you ready for my second question?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So you kind of already hit on some of this, but I know there's more to it. You do have an incredible background in human resources, operating businesses, everything in that realm, just being very systematic in that, in a very professional way, might I add. So I'm curious, what are the key principles that you learned from your former career that you brought with you in the way that you go about growth, operating the real estate brokerage, and making decisions?
Okay, so a lot of people don't know, but whenever I very first started working, it was in 2000, and I think it was the year 2000 is when I was like 16 or 17 years old. I started working at Westlake Hardware. Actually, I led up to being a front end supervisor of that company while I was in college to go to school for human resource management. In that role, though, my final job actually there was to go to a store and clean it up. Like that was the job. That was the job description actually. Where I was sent over to that store ahead of time, and just to help out. Like that was the go help out, right? And so I went over to help out, and I was only, maybe 18 or 19 years old at the time. And I came back to my store, and the district manager asked me, he said, what did you think of that store? And I said, well, it needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of help. And he said, can you fix it? And I, being cocky and 19 or so years old at the time, I said, of course I can fix it. Why wouldn't I be able to fix that? And so that was on like a Friday, and I got transferred on Monday to clean house. That was the job. And what I didn't know is at that time that I was not the only one being transferred that day. They had done what they called a shakeup, and they had moved all of us to different stores that day. And that was just kind of his way of like checking to see if I was going to be okay at that store. And so that was kind of like my first round of like learning how to manage and everything. And that's kind of where I realized that human resources was probably going to be more of my thing. Like that is something that I'm actually really good at, is just going in and cleaning house and doing it in a legal way and making sure that everything works out. So then I went into banking and human resource management. I was very fortunate that I had some great mentors in the banking industry. My first and only my second boss ever was my instructor at the college, and he offered me an internship, and I went to go work in the banking industry, and I learned a lot in human resource management and banking, just how to train and develop people, how to, we were pretty much, my job was basically over training and development for 8 locations. However, in our office, we did a lot of everything. And so I knew how to do 401ks and payrolls and all the other affirmative action plans and all of those kinds of things, government reporting. And so I learned all of those things, but through working there, I just learned that there's a lot of different principles, a lot of legalities, a lot of things like that you have to understand. Compliance is super important in banking. We were audited frequently by internal and external auditors. And so I bring all of that to the table whenever I'm working in my brokerage as well. Banking is not too different from real estate as it is. We have a lot of rules and regulations, compliance guidelines that have to be followed. Everything has to be detailed. There's nothing wrong with that. But also I have a strong management of people because of my, background at Westlake, and then also just helping managers, navigate daily on issues with employees. And so I got all the way up to getting my senior level in human resource management certification, both through the HRCI, which is the Human Resource Certification Institute, and then also SHARM's senior level certification while I was working in banking. And so I do continue to keep those going. I continue to learn on those and to keep my certifications up, because I feel like they're important in what I currently do. In human resource management, your job is to deal with people, and a lot of conflict resolution has to happen. And so, and as a broker, usually whenever I've entered into a transaction that, isn't just like a normal buy or sell, it means that there has been something bad that has happened. And now it is my job to come in and do, possibly a cleanup mess, or to just do some conflict resolution, face the issues head on, and make sure that everyone is doing their job and making sure that everything is done properly, to prevent legal liability for our company, which in human resource management, that is the number one. Is our job is to protect the company from issues. And so that is one of the things that I'm very strong about, is, mitigating risk, learning how to do that risk management in human resources was a huge thing that both everyone I worked with in banking, my two bosses that I had, and then my coworker, always taught me how to mitigate risk. Like, that was our number one thing that we always did. And so I learned a lot from those mentors in that industry. And then I take that with me into my brokerage. And there's been some situations that, some brokers probably would have been sued, but I was able to mitigate it before it got to that point, and to make sure that everything worked out in a way that everyone came out ahead, instead of having to go to court or anything. So hopefully that answers your question, Jake. It's kind of long-winded, but that's the answer.
No, it absolutely does. And I think it's important for everybody, whatever your prior career paths were, Angelena is living proof of how to take the skills, the experiences she had in a former life, and apply that into real estate. And I think that often gets discounted and overlooked by people. From people skills, I'm trying to read my own handwriting, conflict resolution, people skills, risk management, training, professionalism, all the things from HR that you've brought obviously into your brokerage. And frankly, you never escape HR. You're still very much in that, because we are in the people business. Mm-hmm. Quick follow-up question. I thought this was pretty slick of me. We'll see if it lands or not. So, human resources versus resourceful humans. So my follow-up is a behavioral question to you. I get human resources. You just laid that out beautifully. Why do you think then some humans refuse to be resourceful?
I don't know. Human behavior is something that sometimes I just don't understand, why some humans behave the way that they do. And so sometimes, though, as a coach, I've noticed sometimes people don't know how to be resourceful. They don't know where to go. They don't have somebody in their life to help them to learn how to do that. And so, sometimes you have to teach people how to be resourceful. You have to teach them to do things. And if you're a broker that's constantly, giving your agents the answers instead of making them kind of seek out some of the answers, or to show them where to find the answers and how to find the answer, I think that that's super important, because sometimes, some people, especially if they're very micromanager or something like that, they will say, well, this is the answer, but they never give like a reasoning behind it. They don't explain it to the agent. So the agent never learns how to actually go find the answer. And I'm a big proponent of, hey, let's go see if we can go find the answer. Let's look at, this is where I'm looking for the answer. Maybe you should do that next time. And my very favorite question, whenever an agent asks a question, typically is I say, what does the contract say, right? Like, we're in the middle of a deal and then things are going bad, and they ask me a question. I'm like, what does the contract actually say? Because I want the agent to actually read the contract. I want them to understand it, and I want them to be able to articulate that contract to their buyer or their seller. And so I do just feel like sometimes in human behavior, people are not taught how to be resourceful. And so sometimes as leaders, that is one of the first steps that we can take. We can teach them how to be more resourceful. And then sometimes there's people that don't have the right attitude and they're never going to be resourceful. And that's whenever you have to decide whether they're going to be a good fit for your company and if you need to release their licenses to leave your company, because there are times that is also the case, that they are never going to learn. They're never going to try to do the right thing. And that doesn't work for someone like me. I want people who are going to listen and do their jobs.
I'm over here. I don't know if you can see me here. I'm like bobbing my head. I'm like, yes. Not that I
Yeah.
wanted you to, I can't stack the answers, but if you were
Yeah.
to give an answer, that was it.
Okay.
Is they're not bad. They're not unmotivated. Literally, sometimes people need to be shown the way or taught how to be resourceful. What an amazing opportunity for a leader like you to help them with that. Right? So yeah, thank you. Had to sneak that one in there.
Yeah.
Your turn.
All right. So, you and I both work a lot, right? We have that kind of a business. So Jake, how do you, because I know that you're on social media a lot, you're doing a lot of video, you're doing a lot of things like that, which takes a lot of time. And then I know that you spend a lot of time with your coaches. So how do you balance your work and family life? Because I know in real estate, sometimes that is very difficult. There's times in my business alone that I'm working 12 to 15-hour days and trying to manage that. And so how are you doing that in your work and family life?
Again, awesome question. First of all, I'll preface anything I'm about to say by saying I'm not Mr. Perfect. I don't have it perfected, but I'm learning and I'm constantly making adjustments, because it was not too long ago when I remember feeling a certain way and basically saying that work is getting the best of me and my family is getting the rest of me. And that's not cool. That's not the point. I'm not here, neither are you, anybody watching and listening to this, to be the sacrificial lamb of our business. That's not why we started this. That's not why we take all the liability and sleepless nights. You get the point. So it's been a journey, a conscious decision over and over and over again. Examples would include about, by now, 9-10 years ago, I observed my own behavior, my own patterns, and because I'm a coach, I have a decent level of emotional intelligence and awareness. I look to what's the pattern, what's the behavior I'm trying to fix? How can I interrupt that pattern to create a new sequence? And it literally started with me not taking my laptop home. Until this day, very rarely will I ever take my laptop home. That was it. That course corrected and created a new pattern of behavior because I eliminated the temptation and I broke the cycle. So for some, it's kind of like, what is that thing that you need to disrupt so everything that follows it is also disrupted and you can create a new pattern of behavior from there? Okay. Something else is I have learned to set very firm expectations. Now, I don't work nights. I don't work weekends. I choose not to. There's no emergencies. There's no such thing really as an emergency. What can I really do? The banks are closed. You know what I mean? Like, let's get some perspective here. Now, that said, if anybody, and I'm not trying to like pound my chest here, I don't screw around. If I showed you my calendar right now, including this block of time for Broker Showdown, I am a person of integrity. I do what my calendar tells me to do, right? I don't make excuse, like I have no white space. And that's a good thing. That's not a good thing. We could argue that. But I don't screw around. So when I get here at 7:30 in the morning, like clockwork, I treat it like a career, an actual job. And then I close up about 5:15. I have done more in one day, humble brag, than most people do in a week. It's just true because I'm here, I'm working. If I'm going to take time away from my family, especially when my kids are on summer break right now, if I'm just screwing off and scrolling and doing dumb things, I might as well go home. I will be with my kids, be with my family, right? But I have learned to play a little trick on myself. Weird, maybe for somebody hearing this or not, that there's a little live camera up here in the corner of my office. And I pretend there's not really, but I pretend as if there were, and it's live streaming to my family at home. That if any given point they wanted to turn on the TV or pull me up on their app, they could see what dad is doing. And I think through that of like, is what I'm doing right now serving them? Is what I'm doing right now role modeling the behavior I want my girls growing up having? Is what I'm doing right now making them proud? And I go through this game literally multiple times in a day if I ever feel a temptation to just mail it in. It's been a long day. I'm exhausted or whatever noise. I've learned to remove that emotion and just stick rigidly to whatever's on my calendar and have a full calendar of income generating, high value use of time. I know what 1 hour of my life is valued at based on my income goals. And so I'm able to ask, is what I'm doing or about to do valued at that number or not? Right. So there's so much I can answer on this big question, but hopefully that gives a glimpse into some of it.
Okay. That kind of reminds me, whenever I'm coaching, I will ask my clients, especially when we're talking about time management, and I have them journal out their days to just kind of see what they're working on. And then sometimes I'll ask them a question, would you hire you based on what you're doing right now? Because the way that they're spending their time, are you a good employee for yourself? Because if you wouldn't even hire yourself, then why should somebody else? And so that's kind of, to just kind of elaborate on what you just said. Like it's one of those things that I go through a lot with, entrepreneurs and coaching clients is that, sometimes like maybe they don't know what activities they're supposed to be doing, but are they working on the right activities and to be productive and to achieve their goals? And so, we are employed by ourselves as, real estate brokers and as investors. And so we are working for ourselves. And so would we employ ourselves? Mm-hmm. And if we cannot say yes to that, then we are doing something wrong. And so I'll pass it back to you, but I just, to elaborate on what you said.
Yep. No, you're spot on. Wholeheartedly agree. All right. I've got question number 3 ready to roll for you.
Okay.
As long as you're ready. Okay. Now you've referenced this actually multiple times. But I still have a question. The fact that you're very heavy in real estate investments, not just for yourself, but you've coached, I think you said 500 plus people. And I know you do seminars and trainings and all this stuff as another business, teaching other people how to invest. So my question is, I'll just pick 2. What would you say are the top 2 tips for aspiring investors? And what would you say are the top 2 mistakes that they should avoid?
So we deal a lot with, new investors, especially, because we're well known in the industry for what we do here in Oklahoma City. What I see a lot is that sometimes new investors, they think that, one, they have a big issue with shiny object syndrome. They want to always, go after the shiny objects. So when they're coming into an investment room, there might be multiple techniques that are being taught. Every single month there may be a different technique being taught. And so one of the biggest mistakes I see is that people will, they don't focus on just one thing. They focus on multiple types of different types of strategies or techniques. And when you do that, you can't be good at any of them. And then you're never going to get anything done, or you're just going to make a lot of mistakes. And so I think that's one of the biggest ones I see is that people, they also don't take action, being fearful of that, of buying a property. I always kind of laugh that, we make decisions on, hundreds of thousands of dollars, on a day-to-day basis. But whenever I want to go buy a car, I do a ton of research, So it's kind of funny because there's a big difference in the numbers. But for me, I'm very comfortable with buying a property. I'm less comfortable buying a car. So it's kind of interesting how that works. So a lot of times they feel like, a mistake that I see them make is that they feel like they have to know every single little thing about investing before they will actually pull the trigger. And really, all they need to do is hire the right professionals to help them get across the finish line and help them guide them through that process. And so, one of the things that taught, early on for me, as far as like, um, you know, to help them to grow and succeed, is the very first thing that they taught us in a seminar I went to. They were trying to sell us, $10,000, $15,000 seminars, which we did not buy. But one of the best things that they ever told us was to go to our local RIA. And at that local RIA, we met other people like us. We met, people that were learning, but we also met a lot of experienced people that were willing to share what they had learned and what they do. And that was a huge thing for us, as we have built so many relationships through our local real estate investors association. We coach through one of the local real estate investors associations. We are their partners. And we learn a lot from each other, being in the trenches with each other in those associations. And so I think that that's one of the best things that you can teach people. A lot of the other mistakes that I see is people don't keep their financials. They don't do their bookkeeping. A lot of times in investments, like if I have a existing portfolio I'm helping somebody with, I will see people that they don't know if they're making money or not. They don't know where their financials lie. They don't know any of those things. And so one of my favorite things to do is actually to clean up a portfolio that is kind of, because again, I'm a fixer. And so whenever I see a problem like that, I want to just dig in and like go fix that. And so, for a new person, teaching them, and they really shouldn't be listening to like YouTube. I see a lot of things where we're like, well, I watched this video on YouTube or this reel or something like that. Well, who are you getting your information from? Does that person actually know what they're doing? Do they even know the laws of your state? Because like in Oklahoma, we have very strict wholesaling laws, and they're about to get more strict. And that's an investment technique. But if somebody from a different state is teaching you how to wholesale and they don't know the Oklahoma laws, they could get you in a lot of trouble. And so I think it's taking advice from the wrong people and not seeking out the proper people to help you with your investment goals and needs. And so I think that answers your question, Jake. I'll pass it back to you, but I think that answers it.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. I'm making notes for myself too, because that's an area of my life I want some help in and improvement in. So thank you for that. Very insightful. All right. I think you've got one more for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you know, because we just discussed a little bit about the investment stuff, I am big about, making sure that everyone around me is trying to build wealth if they want to and being the best version of themselves. And so, how are you, as you have your own businesses, you have several, how are you building wealth for your family right now? Or are you striving to build wealth for your family in the future?
Again, great question. Yeah. Yet another area that I know I'm actively, let me put it this way. I am actively growing my financial IQ. What do I mean? I've always, and don't mishear this, guys. I've never really had a problem earning money. I've surrounded myself with amazing people. I can articulate a compelling vision and put together the systems and things to execute. I excel in those areas. I'm good at earning. Like most people, though, now that I'm in my early 40s, I'm like, oh, I might need to start thinking about the long term so I won't have to work until I'm 90 years old. No offense. Okay. And so, very, very relevant right now, in fact, where last year or two, we finally bit the bullet and sought the professional insights of a financial advisor. That's step one. Right now, I've got multiple channels, largely in stock market activities. I've got a general trading account that I toy around in. It's doing quite well. And then we've got the traditional stuff like a Roth IRA from a previous life that I had, and now traditional IRAs as well. So pretty typical as far as putting money in the stock market and some of these traditional vehicles for long-term wealth building. That said, hence part of my question previously to you, something that Carissa and I are really starting to make more and more a priority and educate ourselves around is the different things like real estate investing. We've got a couple properties, but that's not the end game. And being able to buy properties for the girls, and do different things that way. So we're more building. It's more of a wealth building play 15, 20 years from now than me being concerned about getting rental properties or something for the cash flow. I know that sounds a little bass backwards, but I'm not so worried if I get $300 a month from a rental as much as I am the long-term appreciation and being able to liquidate that in 15 years and pay for my daughter's college or something like that, putting it in their name and having some different strategies that way. So I am on the journey like many others, reading books, listening to I was going to say podcasts, but that's more Carissa. Listening to audiobooks is what I do, in addition to asking people like Angelena Harris, and I will mention a few other people that I really look to for their wealth advisory. And one last other note to put in here, because this is the entrepreneur yet wealth building answer of me. I just have this, how should I say this? I want to have equity in multiple businesses. So I'm toying with consulting for equity, right? Not consulting just the traditional coach way, but I want to have stake in other businesses, other companies that I think I can bring value to as a presence, like a fractional CRO or something like that, chief revenue officer, where maybe that transitions into an equity stake in the company because I help them achieve X, Y, and Z for growth. That is amazingly appealing to me. Final thing, in addition to the TLR, yeah. TLR, yeah, stands for the TLR locker room, Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Kind of building this quasi Shark Tank thing with a Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Maybe it's a week-long intensive event where they're learning all about entrepreneurship, money, stuff like that. But at the end of it, these young entrepreneurs can actually get in front of me or maybe a board of people and present to us their business idea and allow us to say, yeah, Shark Tank, I'll give you 10 grand for your landscaping startup in exchange for 10% equity. And then playing that mentorship role in that new business from this young entrepreneur. So that's been on my radar for years now. And that's kind of my next phase as I continue on here of getting more into the impact phase of things, but also diversifying what I've got my influence and hands in a little bit. Does that answer it?
I think so. Yeah. So more of a diversification of your portfolio and hard assets, but also business equity type of situation. But one other thing I heard you say was delayed gratification, right? So, you and I see that a lot where people will pull the trigger too soon to start pulling from their cash flow in rental properties. Rental properties are get rich slow type of situations. And so because of that, I see a lot of people who will, have to take on some other type of form of income during that time. And if they quit their jobs too soon, they will end up in a bad predicament. And so delayed gratification for rental properties and holding long-term assets is a very important thing to have. And it's, taught in the cash flow quadrant and Robert Kiyosaki. But I see a lot of people that think that you can just pull from it right away and you cannot. So that's what I heard you say. So
you're spot on. And here, just to add to that real quickly, and I know we're pushing time, but
yeah.
what I've also, this is just so interesting. It's a weird dichotomy. I am incredibly impatient in business. Like, I want things now. I crave variety. That's why I'm always over here creating and, it's a new course, new program, new something. I like to tinker. I like to create. But it's weird that when it comes to investing or the wealth building question, I'm actually really at peace with being patient. I don't need the fix and flip right here, right now. Like I'm totally okay, it's probably healthy, playing the long game, investing money in an index fund, that S&P 500 that I know is going to pay off over time. Buying that investment property, sitting on it for 15, 20. Like there's something about me there, probably the adult somewhere deep down, that I'm like, I'm cool, I'm patient. But in business, every day, I'm like tinkering and screwing around with stuff, and it drives people crazy. So who knew? All right. I think that was 3 and 3, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, shocker. I'm gonna hit you with a fourth real quick. Don't take whatever time you need, but bonus question before we wrap. What is one piece of advice that you have been given that you might want to pass on to our audience today?
I think one of the biggest things that's always stuck with me is to always be super focused on whatever you are doing. So a lot of times, whenever you're work, you can't be good at everything. And so if you set a goal to be completely focused on that goal and to achieve that goal, because if you focus on it, whatever you focus on expands. And so that laser focus is so important. And I see a lot of people that don't focus, and that's why they never achieve anything. And so I've always been one that, once I've, set my mind to something, I have complete focus on that one thing. And whenever I do that, everything works out. And then just trying to keep everything else going at the same time. But that one focus is super important.
That's really good. Write that down. And how appropriate right after I just finished saying what I said about variety and creating chaos sometimes. Yeah, listen to Angelena. Yeah.
Yeah.
Focus, prioritization.
One thing at a time, Jake. One thing at a time. Yeah.
No, you're right. Absolutely. I can't argue with that. Angela, I knew this was going to be amazing. They all are. Y'all are just so different, unique, and in your own ways and different strengths. But you delivered today. Let me just first say that. You absolutely crushed it. So much wisdom, a lot of nuggets that you dropped here. So I know this is definitely one of them. If you're watching this, go back when it's available, watch the replay. Angelena, I can't thank you enough for being who you are and carrying yourself and lifting all of us to be better versions of ourselves, because we have to. We have to when we're in your presence to hold that spot at the table. So thank you. Any last minute or last second words? And if not, how can somebody reach out to you if they want to pick your brain about anything? Or if I'm an agent and I say, you know what, I might want to explore Spearhead. How would somebody go about getting in touch with you?
Yeah, so I am in Oklahoma City. So that's where I also work across markets. So I have Ponca City, and then we also are in our Tulsa MLS. And so we serve the majority of the state. But I do manage the brokerage from Oklahoma City, and I don't have satellite offices or anything. I just work from where I'm at. And so I do have a coffee link. It's coffeewithspearhead.com. And that is where somebody can schedule a recruiting appointment with me. And it also has my phone number and everything where you schedule that if somebody needed to call me. So
boom, there it is. All right, guys. Thank you again, Angelena. You're amazing. You know that. We love you. We appreciate you. And this was a lot of fun. So maybe we'll do it again sometime. What do you think?
All right. Thank you.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.